Recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask Dawn and Donna. I'm Donna, and this is Dawn. So today we would like to talk about some terminology in the energy world, or the woo. So there's a lot of highly technical words. So the quantum field, there's all these words you could talk. There's theta, delta, alpha. So there's a whole scientific list of words that describe now what most of the natural world, and for 4,000 plus years, with the creation of, like, even before the Romans and the Greeks took over the mythology, about our ideas about the world, how we see heaven, how we see the underworld, how we live in this planet Earth, really, with all of our people, and how we connect spiritually with the world around us. So it went from the more natural world and then some gods and goddesses to explain certain events that were happening, and then it got folded into Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism.
Folded in.
Yeah.
Folded in. That's a good term. That was very kind.
Folded in,
or manipulated, however you want to look at that. Yeah.
Or, taken upon themselves and more the religion.
Interpreted.
Yeah.
It was
interpreted to help people connect with the old to the new. So in that transition, and now in this age of this new dawning of awakening that's happening in the world right now, that it's most people are feeling it in some way or another, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's some personal changes that you're going through. I'm down in California, so the fires that are going up the West Coast into all the way up to British Columbia. So there is definitely an atmosphere over the last several years, but especially in the last 6 months, that change is happening. It's not going to come, it's happening. So we both work in a energetic kind of environment and world. So to figure out terminology that is that kind of defines it. When I was in just having my own spiritual awakening, downloads wasn't a term. You just kind of got information. Now there's
right.
You didn't have a download, you just knew stuff, or you were psychic or telepathic or telekinesis.
Yeah.
So with the science coming on board and with the nature, there's been a lot more terminology that maybe you don't know or understand or question. And we don't have all the answers, but we just kind of want to talk about all the different ways to explain the unexplainable. And as humans, I think that's what our search for is, trying to take unexplainable topics and make them defined so our brain can handle it. And like we want to go back to the intuition to have, so your brain to use it because it's amazing. Like that's how we do things, but
do amazing things.
Yeah, but not to discount the naturalness of who we are. There's a beautiful merging, and that's where I think we're going to balance into this next way. So Dawn, why don't you?
Well, I like how you segued the science. You always do all the science, and I just do what I know. I'm going to screw this up, but we should talk about the clairs, right? We talk about gifts, right? That we're all intuitively gifted, and you can develop these gifts. So there's 5 clairs, right? So clairsentient is mine, which is like a deep knowing. It's like you have an inner knowing. You can have visions, you can have dreams. Your dream states is sending you messages while you're receiving downloads while you sleep. These things are coming in fast and furious. I believe in the ancestral gifts right now are actually happening a lot, which means that your entire lineage, which of course is what we directly deal with in our soul awakening method sessions, the entire lineage, I have cleared stuff from 102 generations ago. That means 102 lifetimes of my lineage those ancestral gifts have been passed down 102 times to me. And it goes beyond that, I'm sure. So, um, so everybody has ancestral gifts. Everybody has lived past or concurrent lifetimes. We talk about the ideology that well, let's talk about the veil. The veil is very thin. We talk about from this world to the other world. Now, that other world is, I've heard of dimensions. I've heard that we exist in 12 dimensions, and that um, I speak of the veil as a death doula in our soul's journey. That our soul is having a human experience here and now in this physical body that we chose. We choose our parents. We choose to come here to learn the lessons. And we, upon birth, well, not birth, but after our teachings and programming from 0 to 7, after 7 years old, our personalities and who we are pretty set. And that's based on outside sources. But the soul of us is still there. And then it only took me, 40 some years to figure out who the soul of me was. And that has led me to the health and happiness. And so that's a lot of terminology. Sorry, we should go back to the clairs. So there's clairsentient, the deep knowing. There's clairaudience, where people actually hear voices. No, this is not schizophrenia. This is actual, like the divine gift is hearing from the divinity. And we use the term divine, we use the term God, we use the term source. I believe there is one God. I believe there is one entity. There's one place where we were all created and that we are all connected. These are other terminologies. Clairaudient, help me out.
There's clairsentient, claircognizant. So cognizant is kind of like, that one is generally everyone has that. I mean, we all have that. It's just the level that's developed. That one is just you kind of, it's a little like sentient because you just know information. Sentient's more that it just comes out of you. It's just like, cognizant is like, like your intuition, or maybe that like you can anticipate someone's going to say something and you don't know why. You just kind of have a knowing of something greater.
I think that's like a gut feeling as well. When you don't feel good in somebody's presence, it's like a gut feeling of the energies.
Yeah, it's just kind of like more like the knowing is that you have some knowing of what's going on beyond a rational mind, where the sentient is like just things will come through you without a, like I heard a voice or smell. So what's the nose one? I can never remember the name of that. Claire audio? No. What's you're a respiratory therapist by trade.
I know.
Well, so the clairs are their gifts. So what they've classified it is, so people's gifts, how they've kind of like they've made it palatable and they've changed the terminology. Other than you have a gift of seeing, a gift of hearing, a gift of smelling, a gift of just knowing, like having, and you're usually, the knowing more is more an empath, like a channeler. That's where it's like you just get this information coming through you. So those are the
other side of the veil. Yeah.
Yeah. And the veil is just really, there's dimensions to everything. Like we have 1 dimension, 2 dimensions. So this video is a 2-dimensional. So we've, in the virtual reality world, we've made that where you could put on goggles and be in the world in a 3D sort of fake setting. So this world that we're living in is 3-dimensional. So there's also the 4th dimension, where it's like this in-between worlds of where you kind of pass through or not to go to the 5th dimension, which is the unified field. So in this 4th field. So unified field means source, God, the place of unknown, the place of all creation. It could be the void in most indigenous cultures.
Utopia.
Yeah. And it's really just like, as everything gets birthed out of darkness. So if you think of a seed, everything has to go down into the dark and then you start to grow. So the light
Right.
is what makes you visible. So light and dark are what makes other appear. So you can't know that it's dark if you don't have the light, and you can't know the light if you don't have the darkness.
Dark.
So that is where the first emanation is in this physical plane, is the splitting of the two and making men and women. So out of that seed and growing, so we've kind of in this newer age of like talking about spiritual things, they've been categorized and told as clairs and gifts. And all of these things are things that everyone has. It's not, you're not special to have them. It's more that how you develop them. We can all develop these gifts. Other people are just, as Dawn said, lifetimes. Usually if you're in this lifetime and you're in it, the healing world, you've been that many lifetimes. And or it could be maybe your first time into this world with that. But if you're drawn to this, you have some other connections to the past. So it's just a way to talk about it and kind of normalize the terminology, because even if we take all the terminology away, it doesn't really, I don't want to say matter, but it doesn't really matter how I define if I'm a whatever gifts I have. It's that I figure out how to utilize them for the service of the higher,
the others, that for all of our highest goods, right?
Yes.
And with integrity,
Mm-hmm.
because integrity is so important and seems to be missing in this universe on so many levels. And I really think that that's why we are all being called to service right now. That's why we are receiving our ancestral gifts. It's to, I think that the universe is sending us all very loud messages about our choices that have been made in the past, that we need to make better choices moving forward, that we need to appreciate Mother Gaia a whole lot more, and that we should be living our best lives, that we've all been walking with our heads down and missing the good parts. And the good part has started now. It's our time. And I've been racking my brain. I've been racking my brain now to think about what the nasal thing is, and it's just not coming, but we'll do our homework. We will post it below. And, we will post the 5 clairs and their definition below. And that's some of the terminology.
Yeah, and some of it, but again, the terminology is just a way to communicate what you're feeling with people. So a download is just really your intuitive knowing of what you're supposed to do. I'm sure anyone has like had that moment of like this idea that comes through them. And that's kind of what the download is like you have an idea for a paper, you have an idea to go do something, you have an idea for a career choice, you have an idea to get
inspiration, you could call it.
And that is just in everyone. And if other things are expounded upon, then that's when people say that they're downloads, but they're just labels like anything. And
well, and also I'd like to note that these things are definitely tied to each individual's gift. We are each gifted something that is unusual and unlike anybody else's. So I love that quote that says, be yourself because everyone else is taken. You know, and it's so true. Be yourself. Be true to who you are. Figure out who that is, what lights you up, what your gifts are to share with the world. Do that with the highest integrity and your highest good in mind. You know, there is an unending amount of abundance and availability to all of us to be as happy, as healthy, and fulfilled in all the ways. And the key to that is good relationships, and to figure out how to do that, how to own who you are and how to respect how other people are. And we need to stop shaming and blaming the other. And we need to hold the space of love for everybody and lead with love. It's just, I can't say that enough. Unfortunately, it's my rhetoric. I do say it too much. But
No, not really. Everyone needs to hear it, but that love has to start with you. Like
yes, it does.
you can love other people and be genuine, but if you don't give that same thing to yourself, it gets imbalanced, and then it could turn into a situation where you don't feel appreciated, and there is that malevolent sort of giving and taking. If it's
taking for granted.
Yes.
For granted.
So then you get skewed, where if you apply that beautiful thing, no shaming, it's all you chose everything, and really get in touch with that and make different choices from that place. But out of love that you talk about is where really the answers are. And even if it's been overused, like awakening, all these things have been overused, but it's overused because it's true. There's a truth to it, especially love.
True.
And it's not trite. You can just say,
well,
love
and
one
you
another.
You and I are loving and living examples of that.
Mm-hmm. Like, I couldn't do what I do if I didn't love myself. And for a long time, I thought that it needed to be external, and I needed to show that I was good and have that come through. But I didn't feel that I could do it for myself. Like, I kept on wanting to be good enough to reflect it back. And until I took the reverse as true, like owned all my power, in a way that was my love and not as a protection, and I stopped all protections, then I was able to make it expand. So the love that I have for everyone just expanded, and it was more authentic to me. It's not just the behaviors I do.
And it's the cup runneth over thing. You have to love yourself first before you have to give it to others. And if you are just giving to others and your cup is empty, then you're getting taken advantage of, and all of those things, and you don't really have it to give. It's a very fine balance. And so our next video, we're going to talk about boundaries and that balance.
So if you have any questions for us, leave a comment or subscribe. If you like this video, put a thumbs up, or you can also email us at askdonanddonna@gmail.com. Bye.